It's Thursday, December 9th, 2010. I'm Kevin McShann, and this is the McShann Sports Beat Report.
Thanks for coming today. I appreciate Dr. Matchin's remarks. He has been tremendously supportive of myself and my family for over the last 7 years. I have great love for the University of Florida, and I'm very proud of what Dr. Matchin, Jeremy Foley, how they have helped us, what we've accomplished here at the University of Florida. I'm stepping down as a head football coach at the University of Florida to focus on family and my other interests away from the sidelines.
Coach, when did you make your decision, and will you coach again at some point, or do you know yet?
The decision was, last year was a wake-up call, and early this week I had a visit with Jeremy about some thoughts I was having, and then made the decision just yesterday. I'll think about that later at the immediacy. No.
Urban, when you left a year ago, you talked about family as well. Do you regret coming back and spending that whole year?
No, I love Florida. I got the best bosses in the country with Jeremy and our athletic director. I got a great staff, and that was a knee-jerk reaction to a situation, and at the timing was not right. I don't know if timing's ever perfect, but at least this way you get a new coach on board, help recruiting, and move forward.
Coach, you may have just touched on it, but I was hoping you might be able to expand on what was different about when you came to the decision this time versus when you came to it last year.
Last year, like I said, was a knee-jerk reaction, a lot of emotion in our family. We have a very tight-knit family. My daughter came home from college and found out what happened, and that was you can only imagine for those of you who have children. And then this year was just completely different. I'm doing, I think, what's best for the University of Florida, for our players, and for obviously myself and our family.
Urban, we ask for a simple reason for a complex decision, but why?
Why? That is fairly simple. I think sometimes we make it far too complex. At the end of the day, I'm very convinced that you're going to be judged on how you are as a husband, as a father, not if you know how many bowl games we've won. And I've not seen my two girls play high school sports. They're both very talented Division I volleyball players, so I missed those 4 years. And I missed two already, one away at college. And I was blessed in a family that never missed anything. So I can't get that time back. I made a commitment to them that when we came here, I was going to make sure they graduate in the same high school. We've done that. Made a commitment to them recently that I'm going to get to enjoy their best years of their life, and that's right now.
When you've devoted more than a quarter of your life to one profession, working tirelessly to achieve perfection, and you feel that you have no more to give, or that you want to take your life in another direction and reconnect with those close to you, sometimes you have to know when it's time to withdraw yourself from your lifelong calling. For Florida Gators head coach Urban Meyer, he's reached that point in his coaching career, announcing Wednesday that he's stepping down as the head coach of the Florida Gators to spend more time with his family. Meyer resigns from Florida for the second time in less than a year, stepping down and leaving his post as the coach of one of the most successful programs in all of college football over the past decade. Meyer left the Gators last December, citing health concerns after experiencing chest pains following the Gators' loss to the Alabama Crimson Tide in the Southeastern Conference Championship game. Meyer will coach his final game for the Gators on January 1st in the Outback Bowl against Joe Paterno and the Penn State Nittany Lions. During his time at Florida, Meyer led the Gators to 2 national championships. In 2009, the Gators field boss signed a 6-year extension worth $24 million, meaning that Meyer is walking away from approximately $20 million in guaranteed money. However, athletic director Jeremy Foley has agreed to pay Meyer a $1 million retention bonus that the coach would have received anyway if he was still employed on January 31st, 2011. ESPN's Jesse Palmer, who is also a Gator alum, reacts to the news that Meyer is resigning from Florida after such a successful run, and he also provides his opinion on the future of Florida football.
Let's go ahead and welcome in our college football analyst, Jesse Palmer. Jesse, your initial reaction when the news broke?
I think my first concern, obviously, was for Urban Meyer's health. Of course, we all remember him admitting himself into a hospital after a loss in the SEC title game last season because of chest pains. If you know Urban Meyer, if you've watched him on the practice field and watched him coach in games, you understand he's a guy that puts tremendous pressure on himself. He is a tireless worker, a tireless recruiter, and because of that, Urban Meyer has admitted that his habits sometimes can be, quote, self-destructive. But I just got off the phone with Sports Information Director Steve McClain at Florida, and he's very adamant in saying this has nothing to do with Urban Meyer's health. This has more to do with a 46-year-old head coach who spent 10 years in the head coaching ranks, 27 years total coaching in college, with 3 children that wants to spend more time with his family. Urban Meyer, very, very accomplished in his short career, obviously 2 national titles at Florida, 2 SEC titles at Florida. He takes Utah to an undefeated season and a win in the Fiesta Bowl. For him, it appears it's time to get back with the family and spend more quality time there.
You played football at the University of Florida. You're close to that program. Does it surprise you that a guy who's relatively young in terms of a college coach would leave at the top of his profession at this time?
It's certainly very interesting. I think a lot of people assume that Florida is the type of place and it's the type of environment where coaches can certainly succeed. If you think about that head coaching job being one of the marquee jobs in the entire country in terms of who they're able to recruit, the facilities that they have, playing in the dominant conference in college football in the SEC, and everything that these people have going for them, athletic director Jeremy Foley, one of the best in the business, has all of the tools to help bring in the best coaches in the country, certainly can pay them enough. And Urban Meyer, along with Mac Brown, Nick Saban, some of the top coaches in the entire country. But again, there is a lot of pressure, obviously, associated with the job. And I think that's why my initial reaction worries about his health and some of the stress that is involved with being the head coach of Florida.
You mentioned, of course, a little less than a year ago, he stepped down and came back and said he would take on less responsibilities. Did he really do that?
I think he really jumped into it right away. I had a chance to watch this team practice a little bit in spring. And again, Urban Meyer, just one of those guys. I think it's very difficult for him to take the foot off the pedal. But I think he believes that his health really improved throughout the course of the season. Steve McClain, the SID, told me that he did not have any health issues this year. Chest was out, chin was up. After that loss against Florida State at the end of the regular season, he was running right back into the meeting rooms. Hey, we're going to get this thing fixed and turned around, gung-ho, fired up, and ready to go. Obviously, this has been a disappointing season for Florida, finishing 7-5 in the regular season. But I think he's just such a competitor that it's hard for him to take his foot off. And I think he attacked this season the same way he does each and every year.
National Signing Day right around the corner. What does this do in terms of recruiting for Florida?
Well, I think it's interesting that the Florida Gators make this announcement right now because there still are candidates available to take this head coaching job. Obviously, they're able to maximize and try to maximize on recruiting before National Signing Day at the start of February. It'll be interesting to see, I think, the effect this has on recruiting right now. Urban Meyer said that he will coach this team in the Outback Bowl against Penn State. We're all going to wait and see and find out what the repercussions are of this.
All right. down the road, where might this program look for the next head coach?
The one name that comes to me right off the bat is Mississippi State head coach Dan Mullen, who we've heard may be a very hot candidate right now for the head coaching vacancy for the Miami Hurricanes. But obviously Dan Mullen was an offensive coordinator under Urban Meyer at Florida, won 2 national championships, 2 SEC championships with that system. Very familiar with the fertile recruiting grounds of the state of Florida. Right off the bat, that'd be the name I'd imagine Florida would target.
Meyer shares his thoughts on what he believes his resignation will do for recruiting, where his program goes from here without him at the helm, and what he hopes to accomplish in his final game as the head coach of the Gators.
Coach, as far as recruiting goes, how have you talked to recruits that are committed, uncommitted?
Yeah,
Where do they kind of go from here?
Well, I talked to a handful of them already. I'm going to make a bunch of calls here tonight and tomorrow. Florida's Florida. Florida always will be Florida. Even last year with the issues, we put together a great class. We have great coaches here. I'm sure the coaching candidates will be fantastic, and we just got to get moving. And obviously with all this early signing and everything, timing's of essence a little bit. Absolutely, I'll help. Full speed ahead.
Urban, there were absolutely no health concerns this time, and were you able to put in as much commitment as you had in the past after last year's scare?
As much
time, effort?
Oh, yeah, yes. To say that there wasn't a scare or there wasn't, that'd be incorrect. There was. But that's not the reason for this press conference here today.
Urban, you said after the Florida State game that you're going to get this thing fixed and rebuild this thing. What changed after that game? And also just talk about the irony that your last game is going to be the Outback Bowl and Joe Paterno is going to be the one that's not retiring.
Someone made a comment that if Coach Paterno would have stepped down at my age, it would have been 1972 or something like that. We're actually great friends, and I can't wait to see him. I think I see him tomorrow. Mike, your first part of the question?
After the Florida State game, you said
Yes. Well, it has to be fixed. It's broke a little bit right now. But the way you fix it is hard work. And when I say broke, it's broke because of a constant attrition of coaches who, God bless them, they've gone on to be great head coaches. Throughout college football, I think someone said we have 10 that have been on my staff over the last 10 years. So I've obviously been very fortunate to have the best coaches in America, and they've proven it on their own. You lose 5 juniors to the NFL draft, and then you have that little bit of a void in there right now. But it's Florida. We'll be back stronger in my opinion, stronger than ever. We have the facilities, we have everything in place now to do that. It's going to be a great young team. I mean, this is not like a bare knuckles situation we're in.
What changed from the Florida State game until now? I guess you thought after that game before.
Yes, I did, and just family discussions. My best friends up in Georgia Tech, and my other best friends, high school seniors. So some very deep family discussions.
Is it harder for you at all to leave after a year like this rather than a more successful year? Does that eat at you a little bit?
Yeah, it does. I just think Florida deserves the best, and I'm not sure we gave them our best this year. But there's never perfect timing, and so it does. But
when did you meet with your players, and what was that like?
It was tough. I met with them today at 2 o'clock. We have a couple of our guys here, and for the most part, they're very gracious, and just want to do this thing right. And let's send the seniors, one of the winningest classes in the history of Florida football, send them out winners against Penn State.
Urban Meyer will go down as one of the best coaches in all of college athletics. During his time in Gainesville, he touched lives, he made a difference, and of course, he won on the football field, amassing a record of 64-15, highlighted by 2 national titles and 2 conference championship victories. But now, the time has come for Meyer to stop influencing the lives of young men and start focusing on the lives of his 2 young daughters. Urban Meyer is leaving 27 years of coaching behind him because he wants to be a better family man, and no one can fault him for that. During his time pacing the sidelines for the Gators, He gave the Gators Nation all they could ask for and much more. And now, it's time for all of us to stand up, whether you're a Gators fan or not, and bid Urban Meyer adieu, because, as our parents always told us when we were young, all good things must come to an end. Kevin McShann, Sports Beat reports.